Yeah, personally, I'm very much into the movie world. Love action movies, sci-fi movies, and I tolerate the romantic flicks that my wife requires me to watch every once in a while. I have young kids, so obviously gaming is something that they enjoy. And on the two-channel side, I have really started to explore home house audio. So it's something we like for parties and whatnot. But I'd say primarily I'm a movie person. The first theater I was looking to build goes back now about 10 or 12 years, and I really had an interest but didn't have a lot of knowledge. So I searched around for some components, and through a component I actually got to meet Steph, and I found that the kind of advice that he provided was very helpful, and ultimately he helped me build that theater. Well, even for what I would consider a technology expert, it was really difficult to understand the trade-offs between things, between different components, DTS 5.1, 7.1, etc., etc. So having a person that had those trade-offs and could express them and describe them really made it helpful. So yes, it was quite difficult to build the home theater that you had in your head just based upon reading magazines and searching things over the web. Just what screen to use and what material to use and how to control light and what components made sense, how to dampen sound. That was a lot of the discussion. But second theater, I guess I was maybe a little bit more educated, and we wanted to tweak things further. The interesting one was the third theater that we built, which was now just about 2.5 years ago. There were some components that were changing, new technologies that were being introduced, and there was a case where I didn't know exactly what processor to buy. And Steph was really good to talk about pros and cons. Ultimately, I ended up buying not the highest end, but the one below that of the manufacturer. And that was because for what I needed, it was the right system for me. So that's what I really appreciated, that Steph takes a step back and says, for what you're trying to build, what's the right component? How do they go together? And he was really good to suggest not always what is the absolute most expensive, highest end, but rather what's the most practical and useful system for, in my case, for me and my family. Working with highendzone for me has been very easy. I am an internet person and an email person, as opposed to getting on the telephone and talking all the time. So I found it to be useful to have someone that you can communicate in that way. It's been very reliable. There are times when we've had tens of thousands of dollars worth of components and money flying back and forth, and I guess across 3 systems it's worked very well, to the point where we're building a 4th, so we're obviously working with Steph to put that one together as well. My ultimate goal for my home system is multifold, right? One, I'd like to have a viewing experience for myself and occasionally for my wife that is immersive. For my kids, I want it to be engaging, and engaging enough that when they have 3 or 4 friends over, they actually stay in the theater room and don't wreak havoc throughout the house. So it to be a focal point of the home. And in general, I'd say around home audio, just having everything in place that when you have people over, that they can enjoy what you have, and music is often part of that. So I'd say having all those things wrapped into one for me is a description of a perfect system. I'd say it's really useful to find someone who's expert enough that they can describe the trade-offs. Audio is both objective in terms of the numbers of the systems, but it's also quite subjective. So having an individual that can counsel you on where you can put extra money, where you can put money into different components just because it's right for your use, is really helpful. You can't find that in a magazine, and the magazines are kind of disappearing anyway. So having an expert that allows you to do that, I found that highendzone has been a good group to work with. And again, if you're someone that doesn't mind working through email and digital media, then that's kind of a match made in heaven.